Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Faulkner, and I'm an intern for Village Core. For other events like this, be sure to check out villagecore.org or check out our YouTube channel, where we upload videos like this in case you miss one. Today, we'll be going over Duolingo, its benefits, the costs, and other things like that. So, what is Duolingo? That's what a lot of people might be asking. If you haven't heard of Duolingo, it's an app that allows you to learn different languages around the world. If you're really interested in, let's say, Spanish, and you want to learn Spanish because you're going on a trip to Mexico or something like that, it's a really fun and engaging way to learn Spanish in order to be well versed in that language. Duolingo runs you through countless courses in order to make sure that you have practice and readiness in order to in order to be able to read, as well as write and also converse in a certain language of your choosing. Duolingo offers many different big languages around the world that you can pick and choose from, and you can also learn from more. You can also learn more than one language at a time. So, right here in front of me, we have my Duolingo dashboard and what I can see myself as a Duolingo learner. Um, the difference between my Duolingo and typical Duolingo is that I have the upgraded pass for Duolingo. So I have Super Duolingo, which essentially Super Duolingo means that you have paid for Duolingo. Either it can be an individual plan, a two-person plan, or it can be a family plan for up to, I believe it's like 5 members can be on a plan, maybe more. So what I have is my family has the family plan, where all of us can come together on Duolingo and we can all learn our languages separately. So my aunt set this up for me. So we have my aunt, and then we have me, and then a few other members of my family. So with Super Duolingo, the benefits that you can receive from Super Duolingo are unlimited legendary levels, which basically means that you can play these levels. Essentially, what that means is that you have access to countless different amounts of levels without using what are called gems. So essentially, what gems are in Duolingo is it's the kind of currency that you win when continually going through practicing and making sure that you're practicing every single day. You can earn gems from completing lessons, listening to stories, playing little mini games, other things like that. So if we go back here, we get unlimited legendary. We also get unlimited hearts. So typically having a normal plan that you did not pay for, you have 3 hearts. You essentially have 3 tries. You have 3 attempts at a certain concept. And if you get that concept wrong 3 different times, then you are no longer able to move on and you have to watch an ad or you have to wait for your timer to fill back up in order to continue on. On top of that, here we have no ads, which with a normal plan of Duolingo, there are ads that are attached to different lessons, different things that you do, mini games, other things of that nature. And essentially, with Super Duolingo, you can get rid of that completely. There's also the practice hub, where you get targeted sessions that are based on off of your progress. So if you miss a few concepts in earlier lessons that you were learning from, you now have the opportunity to make that up again and start learning it again right there in the practice hub. And it essentially means that you don't have to worry about losing your progress and messing everything up, and you can still earn experience points, which I'll get to experience points in a minute. So as we can see right here, I have the Super Duolingo subscription plan. I'm currently on my MacBook. Duolingo doesn't necessarily have to be on the MacBook. It could be on an iPad. It can be on an iPad. It can be across Android devices. It can be on a desktop. It really just depends on how you're trying to learn Duolingo and what you feel comfortable with learning and what you feel comfortable with. So it has all the basic features where you can manage your different courses, manage your account, passwords, notifications. You can set a daily goal for yourself. So say, I want to learn 3 lessons every single day. I can set that up for myself, and I can make sure that Duolingo notifies me to say, hey, you need to learn your 3 lessons today, and other things of that nature. There's also Duolingo for education. So there's Duolingo for you to learn on your own, and there's also Duolingo for you to use in classrooms. So say if you're a Spanish teacher, or if you're really wanting to make sure that your friends around you, and in an event that you're organizing, you can buy Duolingo for schools in order to make sure that so that everybody has a way to learn Duolingo. So the lessons that we are currently looking at here are all the lessons that I have completed so far. Typically, it looks very short. It looks like there's a small amount of lessons, but it's really not. If I were to click on this, I'm currently learning Spanish. So if I were to click on this, I could go back and I could look at all my progress from prior lessons that I've learned. And I can go see and go review the lesson if I choose to do that. So as you can see here, all these gold little circles that you are seeing is essentially that I have proved through different kinds of tests, different lessons, and other things of that nature that I am well versed in this concept, and that I really no longer need to learn about it, and that I have the legendary level in this entire unit. So in this entire unit, I've completed it, and I am well versed in all these concepts. And then I can move on to section 2, where, as you can see, I have not gone through and made them all gold, but I'm slowly working on it in order to make sure that I am well versed in all different concepts in Spanish. But it's not just Spanish that I can focus on. I can focus on a ton of different languages. There's a language out there for everybody in case you want to learn something. So you can learn the big languages around the world like French, Italian, Chinese, Turkish, Greek, Dutch, Latin, Irish, Indonesian. There's just so many different countless languages to choose from. And they keep adding languages throughout the years. So as Duolingo progresses and as Duolingo updates, languages keep getting added on and added on and added on. And pretty soon you can learn a ton of languages all around the world. And Duolingo will have them right here ready for you to go. So as you can see here, I can choose, let's say I want to learn French. I could click on French and it'll have a course ready for me to go. And I can start learning my French lessons. So essentially, what happens whenever we move through a unit, whenever we do anything, we earn things called experience points. Essentially, if I were to go here and I were to say, I want to start learning and I want to start practicing this lesson that I've already completed, we can see here that I can either practice it for five experience points, or I can move up to the legendary level, and I can start that level, or I can start this level for 10 experience points. These experience points go towards the leaderboard. So the leaderboard essentially gives you a rundown of who's doing well in your lesson. So if you're completing the most amount of courses and other things like that, it turns it into a little game for you to try to compete against other users, other real users on Duolingo, to see who's the best in your local area or around the world in that lesson. And you move up through the leagues. So there's the Bronze League, the Silver League, the Gold League, the Diamond League, the Crystal League, and I believe it's the Amethyst League. And then it keeps going up by tiers after that. So the more that you learn, the more that you improve, the higher of a rank that you get. And also you get to add onto your daily streak of learning from Duolingo. So essentially what a streak means is that how many days you have practiced Duolingo in the past. So we can see here, we can look at my prior streak in the month of September, since I haven't used Duolingo in a while. We can see that through September 1st through September 30th, I have been using Duolingo every single day up until that time frame. The blue little images that you're seeing, the kind of like iced over days, are the days that I skipped because I didn't feel like learning that day, and I had a few what are called freezes in order to make sure that I didn't learn that day and that I would hold my progress. And so I use those phrases on those days. But other than that, it contributes to my streak and other things like that. Duolingo has a really easy way of letting you know how you're doing progress-wise and other things of that nature. So essentially what Duolingo would do whenever you are completing a lesson, so let's say I were to go here and I were to take a really basic lesson of Spanish again, to start over. It runs you through kind of images as well as audio descriptions, as well as other reading activities, writing activities, things of that nature, as well as speaking activities, in order to make sure that you have everything down pat. So if I were to look for which one of these was the one is the woman, I could click on La Mujer right there.
Yo como pan.
And then it'll let me know that I did well with a little chime, and then it'll continue on through the lesson, and I can speak to Duolingo and I can learn the lesson from it as well.
Como? Yo.
The other fun thing about Duolingo
Yo como pan.
is that it reads it out to you as well, like it just did there.
Yo.
Or I can hover over the word and I can see what the translation of the word is back into English. So if I were to try to figure out what yo meant in Spanish, I could see that it either means I'd, or me. If I were to look at what como means,
Como.
I could look at I eat, I could look at eat, and then I can look at I am eating. So yo como pan, pan is bread. So essentially that sentence there is I am eating bread. So I am eating bread, and then I could say that in Spanish, and I can read it right there, yo como pan, back to Duolingo, and it'll check it off and make sure it's right, and then you can move on to your next lesson, or you can move on to your next word within the lesson. So if we were to quit here and back out, we can see that there are little practice birds on the side, which you can practice with. Make sure you're well versed still. And there's other practices as well, such as perfect pronunciation. You can redo your mistakes. Duolingo also has the function of storytelling. So if you really wanted to learn a different type of story from Duolingo, it'll read it out to you and you can follow along, read with it, and it'll ask you questions as you are progressing with the story. It'll try to make sure that you are staying focused and that you know what's happening in the story. You can also listen. So Duolingo has the option to listen to different types of sentences that are being said, and then you just have to match it to the word and other things of that nature. You can also do speaking practice to improve speaking. And also Duolingo now has the function for podcasts. So if you wanted to listen to a Duolingo podcast on a certain language and continue learning that way, Duolingo now has podcasts that allow you to do this. Essentially, what you do is you would pick your preferred language, and then Duolingo will curate a podcast for you. I believe it's every single week for you to learn the different concepts that you are learning currently. They don't advertise it here because it is a new function, but they do advertise it under the more section, as we see here. So going back to the leaderboard, we can see the leaderboard here. So far, I haven't completed a lesson, so I haven't been placed on the leaderboard. But as soon as I do, I will be placed on that leaderboard. There are different types of quests that you can continue. So Duolingo essentially has different types of lessons. They also have different types of badges that you can earn throughout your time using Duolingo. And these quests and these daily missions that you do essentially add to your experience points. And they also give you gems and streak freezes, which, as I mentioned before, you can use the streak freeze in order to save your progress if you aren't looking to do a lesson that day. So here we have the store where you can buy different amounts of things. So as we can see here, we can buy streak freezes for a certain amount of gems. We can do double or nothing. So we can double your 50 gem wager by maintaining a 7-day streak. Or if you really want, you can get a plushie from Duolingo for around $30. But essentially, that's about it from Duolingo. It's really straightforward. They try to move you through the concepts. And as well, let's see if I can find it. They do give you a detailed look at what will be taught in the lesson. So right here, I just went to this lesson's guidebook, and essentially it's going to tell me what are the key phrases that I'm about to learn, what are the adjectives, how are they used, what are special types of tips that Duolingo is recommending, and other things of that nature. As you improve through your progress with Duolingo, you can click on different lessons and you can look at the guidebook for each lesson. So you can get an overview, or you could get a unit look at what types of things you'll be learning. So Duolingo also has different kinds of conjugation charts that'll let you know exactly how you were to conjugate a certain word into a different tense. Just like how we have tenses in English, you could do the same thing for other languages. So here we can look at the tenses for Spanish. We can look at different types of tips, such as the uncertain future. And we can also look at other key phrases and things of that nature. And we can look at how things are pronounced and how things are typically done. So with Duolingo, there is one thing that does need to be noted, is that Duolingo does not do certain types of languages. So within languages, there might be different dialects, different accents, different styles like that. Duolingo doesn't necessarily try to do that. They try to stick with what is the norm and kind of the basic function of that language and how to use it easily. So speaking of that, Duolingo does not have a Mexican Spanish function. And so if you're looking to learn Mexican Spanish, Duolingo might not be the best choice for you, because Duolingo solely focuses on Spain Spanish rather than Mexican Spanish. For the other languages, I don't necessarily know if they're different or not, because I haven't been learning them, but I will start learning them soon. But as of right now, I know that you cannot learn Mexican Spanish. You can only learn Spain Spanish with Duolingo. Other than that, it's really easy to use. There's many different practices, and these practices do update every single day for you to use, and you can just progress your way up faster and faster and faster. Another thing that Duolingo isn't currently showing me right now, because I haven't done a lesson in a while, is a time practice. So essentially what this time practice means is that within, I believe it's a 2-minute time frame, I have to match as many phrases to the English definition as I can within that 2 minutes. So this basically makes my brain work on speed and agility and also accuracy. So I can say la mujer, like we saw in the practice, which means the woman. And I can match up those two phrases within that 2-minute time period. And I can keep going through and through and through. Duolingo will keep my progress and make sure that I have the most accurate scoring time and the amount of questions that were asked to me. So Duolingo really wants to make it a fun little game to make sure that you are properly learning these languages and that you have the means to learn these languages. That's why Duolingo both offers lessons for free, or you can pay for the Super Duolingo, because their whole mission is to make sure that everybody has access to learning a language. Other than that, Duolingo is really easy to use, really simple. It makes it a fun little game rather than having to sit down with a textbook and just read the language, do a bunch of worksheets, and other than that, and other stuff like that. So Duolingo tries to be different and make it fun. As of right now, Duolingo has only these languages that I mentioned before. There aren't any other changes to what they're adding currently. But they are trying out new languages, as we can see here, with Klingon. They are adding both real languages and fake languages. Well, actually, Klingon is actually a real language now. So you can actually learn different types of languages throughout the world and through movie types of languages. But as you can see here, this is this is what the set languages are for you to learn at this current moment. So if you really want to learn and catch up on these different phrases, if you want to talk to family, friends, other things like that, it's a really simple way to do this. But there is also another option. Say you're not an English speaker. Duolingo does have the option for you to switch over your language. So say you are a Spanish speaker, a French speaker, an Italian speaker, any types of these speakers, you can switch over and then you can learn languages. You can learn different languages in that language. So let's say I were a Spanish speaker and I really wanted to learn English. Right here, I can't select the option for English because I already know English and my Duolingo is already set to English. But if I were somebody in Spain who really wanted to learn English, I could switch over that function and I could start learning English as a Spanish speaking person. So it's a really fun and easy way to switch over, and they make it inclusive for everybody. They don't just try to make it harder, they try to make it easier. So as we can see here, there are a ton of different languages that we are now switched over to because I switched to all different types of languages. So you can learn tons of different types of English in different languages, or you can learn Portuguese in many different types of languages, Chinese, Cantonese, Vietnamese, other things like that. Now that I've switched over, you can now select the correct option that is fit for you, what you are trying to learn, and what you are trying to do with the language. But as we switch back here, back to English, I will wrap it up at this portion, just showing the English speakers what types of languages they can learn with Duolingo. Other than that, once again, my name is Brandon Faulkner. I am an intern for Village Core. Be sure to check out our website, villagecore.org, or be sure to check out our YouTube channel where we upload videos like this in case you miss it, so you can learn about all these cool different types of new things that are coming out and other things that have been around for a while. So once again, thank you so much for watching.